Jason Robertson be the game-changing acquisition that transforms Montreal from playoff hopefuls into legitimate contenders? Or would pursuing the Dallas Star represent a costly mistake that ignores their most glaring roster needs? The Star's willingness to explore trading their 25-year-old scoring machine has created a tantalizing opportunity that's forcing Kent Hughes to weigh immediate impact against strategic necessity. Let's address the elephant in the room first. Robertson is an absolute offensive dynamo whose production speaks volumes about his elite capabilities. We're talking about a player who exploded for 109 points just 2 seasons ago and has consistently delivered 80-plus point campaigns while maintaining remarkable durability. 0 missed games over 3 seasons isn't just impressive. It's the kind of reliability that championship teams build around. When you combine that availability with his proven goal-scoring touch, having hit 40-plus goals twice and 35 last season, you're looking at a legitimate first-line talent in his prime years. The age alignment with Montreal's core creates fascinating possibilities for long-term roster construction. At 25, Robertson matches perfectly with captain Nick Suzuki's timeline, suggesting they could form a dynamic partnership for the next several seasons. That kind of synchronization doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of careful planning and strategic asset management. When rebuilding teams find opportunities to add elite talent that fits their development curve, those decisions often define competitive windows. Dallas's salary cap situation has created this unexpected opportunity, and their motivations are crystal clear when you examine their financial commitments. 5 players earning over $8 billion annually creates an incredibly tight squeeze, especially when Robertson is heading into restricted free agency with arbitration rights. The Stars have painted themselves into a corner where keeping their entire core intact might prove financially impossible, creating leverage for teams like Montreal who have the cap flexibility to absorb significant contracts. Jim Nill's recent aggressive moves, including the blockbuster deal that sent multiple first and third round picks plus Logan Stankoven for Mikko Rantanen, have decimated Dallas's draft capital. They're essentially operating without first or second round selections in the upcoming draft, while Montreal sits comfortably with 2 picks in each of those crucial rounds. That disparity creates natural trading partners where Montreal's asset wealth could address Dallas's future needs. However, the harsh reality is that Robertson doesn't solve Montreal's most pressing roster construction issues. The Canadiens have been searching desperately for a reliable second-line center and a right-handed defenseman, to positions that remain glaring weaknesses despite their recent playoff success. Adding another left winger, regardless of his talent level, feels like addressing a luxury need while ignoring fundamental structural problems. The comparison to the Patrick Lane situation reveals important distinctions about player evaluation and team fit. Robertson brings a completeness to his game that extends far beyond pure goal-scoring ability. His consistent plus ratings indicate strong two-way awareness, while his work ethic and durability suggest the kind of character traits that translate well to playoff hockey. Unlike pure snipers who might disappear during physical postseason battles, Robertson has proven he can maintain production while contributing offensively. Kent Hughes faces a fascinating strategic dilemma that perfectly encapsulates the challenges of managing a rebuilding team with playoff aspiration. Does he prioritize addressing known weaknesses through targeted acquisitions, or does he pursue elite talent when it becomes available, regardless of positional fit? Both approaches have merit, but timing and opportunity costs make this decision particularly complex. The potential return package raises intriguing questions about asset allocation and organizational priorities. If Dallas is motivated primarily by financial considerations rather than immediate competitive needs, they might be willing to accept future-focused compensation. Montreal's draft capital could prove incredibly attractive to a team that's mortgaged significant picks for current talent. Sometimes the best trades involve exchanging present production for future flexibility. Consider the ripple effects throughout Montreal's forward group. If Robertson joined their lineup, his arrival would create incredibly favorable depth situations, potentially allowing players like Cole Caulfield to develop without overwhelming pressure, while providing veteran leadership for emerging prospects. Elite talent often makes entire lineups better through improved matchups and reduced individual responsibility burdens. The left-wing depth situation in Montreal adds another layer of complexity to this evaluation. They already have established players at that position, but Robertson's caliber transcends typical positional concerns. Elite talents create their own opportunities and force coaches to find ways to maximize their impact, regardless of traditional roster construction preferences. Sometimes acquiring superior players means adjusting systems, rather than forcing players into predetermined roles. Dallas's competitive window creates urgency around this potential move that benefits Montreal's negotiating position. The Stars are clearly in win-now mode, having sacrificed significant future assets for immediate improvements. That timeline pressure could force them to accept less than optimal returns. For Robertson, if they determine his contract demands exceed their financial comfort zone, the arbitration rights factor adds unpredictability to Robertson's situation. That could influence both his trade value and contract negotiations. Players approaching arbitration often seek maximum compensation, which might push his demands beyond what Dallas considers reasonable. That creates opportunities for teams like Montreal, who have both the cap space and long-term flexibility to accommodate higher salary commitments. Montreal's prospect development timeline provides context for why adding established talent makes sense despite positional redundancy concerns. Their young players would benefit enormously from playing alongside proven scorers who can demonstrate professional habits and playoff-level intensity. Sometimes the best development environment involves surrounding prospects with elite veteran talent rather than forcing them to carry excessive responsibility too early. The Western Conference playoff implications of potentially losing Robertson to an Eastern Conference team adds strategic considerations for Dallas beyond simple asset return. They're essentially choosing between keeping a division rival weaker versus strengthening a conference opponent. Calculations that often influence trade discussions in unexpected ways. Geographic considerations sometimes matter more than pure asset evaluation. Robertson's contract situation creates interesting leverage dynamics that could benefit Montreal's negotiating position. Dallas knows they're operating under time pressure, while Montreal has the luxury of patience and financial flexibility. Those circumstances often produce favorable acquisition opportunities for teams willing to absorb salary in exchange for reduced asset costs. The playoff experience factor shouldn't be underestimated in this evaluation. Robertson has competed in high-pressure situations with Dallas, understanding what playoff hockey demands from top-line players. That experience would prove invaluable for Montreal's developing core, providing leadership and perspective that can't be taught in practice situations. If Hughes ultimately decides to pursue Robertson despite positional concerns, it would signal confidence in his ability to address center and defense needs through other avenues. Sometimes building roster strength means accepting positional redundancy, while trusting that superior talent eventually creates opportunities for optimization. The financial commitment required for Robertson extends beyond just his current contract, encompassing long-term extension discussions that could define Montreal's salary structure for years. Teams acquiring players in contract years must factor in both immediate impact and future cost considerations, creating complex evaluations that extend far beyond single-season contributions. This situation perfectly illustrates the unpredictable nature of NHL trade markets, where elite talent sometimes becomes available due to circumstances unrelated to performance or character. Hughes must decide whether Robertson represents the kind of opportunity that transcends traditional roster construction logic or a distraction from more pressing organizational needs. Would you pull the trigger on acquiring Robertson despite the positional fit concerns? Or should Montreal stay disciplined and focus exclusively on their center and defense needs? Let me know in the comments what you think about this fascinating blend of elite talent availability and strategic roster management. And don't forget to hit that like button if you want more analysis of the blockbuster moves that could reshape the entire NHL landscape.